Ahoy, hoy, friends, and welcome to the Salon. It is Thursday, May 8th, and it is time to make a change. There are 4 shifts now. That's right, we are talking about Chain of Command from Season 6 of Star Trek The Next Generation, a mid-season 2-part episode. Can't wait to talk about it, get excited, and my audio has changed. And we're just going to hope for the best and bring on my co-host. Trevor, can you still hear me? Can't hear you.
Oh, haha. That was not intentional. I swear to God. Yes, I can hear you just fine. How are you?
Wonderful. So excited to be here and loving these random issues with my microphone in 3. And it's better now, hopefully.
It didn't really change for us. I think
Fantastic.
It may be on your side thing. So it's all good.
Well, my screen is telling me otherwise. So
we could blame the new Pope.
Yes. It's the American Pope, so everything's going downhill. But also loving the Twitter bitchiness between him and Vice President Vance.
Oh, the drama is going to be delightful.
It's going to be interesting. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about Star Trek The Next Generation Chain of Command. We're going to run a level 2 diagnostic in a moment, but we got to beam in the rest of the crew. Let's keep it bald. Benji, how are you?
Good. Feeling nice and cool up top. So,
segue here, cool up top and everywhere else. It's Will. How are you? And Walter.
Thank you. And Walter too. Hi. Good. We're good. We're good. We're good. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Walter. Thank you so much.
Dying for attention. Here's Krista. Just kidding. She's a little sick. She's going to be with us as long as she can, and God love her. Keeping it Nashville. Here's Joanne. Joanne, how are you, darling?
Hello. I am well.
I hope everybody is excited to talk about this episode. It's a fun one. We're going to get into it. But before we do, we simply must set an intention.
This is obvious, but don't forget to set an intention when you light it, or you're just going to be wasting the wax.
Indeed, we must. So, in honor of Chain of Command and a change in the Chain of Command in Chain of Command, I thought it would be fun if we went around the room and talked about who should have taken over Enterprise D instead of Edward Jellicoe. I would like to keep it to the timeline, but if you need to enact some sort of time shenanigans because you just need to and you're stuck, it's fine. We'll just break the rules. We're going to invoke the Krista rule of make the question your own. It's fine. But to start things off, I will stick to the rules. And, I might be breaking the rules because I'm going to pick somebody that might be dead, but I think they're alive because we didn't really see their body at the end of the episode. Captain Tryla Scott from the episode Conspiracy. We found out that other people that were shot and the bugs came out of them came back after the big bug died. So maybe Tryla Scott's still alive out there. But I think that would have made a much more interesting episode had Captain Scott taken command of the Big D instead of Jellicoe, who turned out to just be a Big D. So with that, let's go around the room and see who you would pick. Krista, my love, who would you have in command instead of Captain Crazy Pants?
I immediately thought, like, especially after Will did his walk, I don't think Jellicoe was crazy enough. I don't think he was loose cannon enough, right? I think he was performative loose cannon, which isn't really very intimidating for me. And so, in honor of making this question my own, I'm not even going to deal with the timeline, and I'm also not dealing with Starfleet. I'm actually conscripting 2 possible candidates from 2 entirely different empires. The first is Garon, Crazy Eyes. Bring Crazy Eyes in there, match the crazy with the crazy. Let's just blow everything up.
Love it.
Or the other option is Khan, but the Montalban Khan, walking in all his naked chest glory with all of his like baby heads and skulls and teeth and shit around his neck. Let's match crazy with crazy and blow all this shit up, because this episode is like the fucking intelligence was wrong. It was lesson in humility. It was like they deserved to be, everybody deserved to die. That's all I'm saying. Everyone deserved to die. So let's have Garwan or Khan. Those are my choices. All the other captains, they just would have been the same as Jellicoe.
Or according to the perfect banner, the transporter love child of Galron and Khan. Galron.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Awesome. Benji, my dear. Benji, can you hear me?
Oh, she's frozen.
We may have lost
Canadia's
Benji.
having tech issues this evening.
It's the tariffs. Let's circle back to Benji. Will, my dear.
Yes, I had a couple of answers. One that I thought would be really interesting to see would be Saavik, because she technically would still be alive. So I always thought Saavik would be interesting. Also, like, I also thought if we got Captain Ross, who's Admiral Ross in DS9, if that character, like, if there was more thought, that would be interesting. Or the random one-off character that I know is Admiral Brackett from the Unification, only because I know Karen Hensel, the actress. She works at the school I used to work at. She's a very sweet woman, and she has a picture of her and Patrick Stewart sitting in the captain's chair, and she always tells a story. She goes, Patrick came up to me, Sir Patrick came up and says, Karen, would you like to sit in the chair? And then they have a photo of them sitting in the chair. So that's always makes me laugh. So I would do it just because I love Karen. And but yeah, that, or I'm going to throw another one. I'm going to steal someone from someone else. I also thought Admiral Cheyev would be an interesting choice as well. But like, there's a lot of people. But if I was going to pick, we'd bring Robin Curtis back to play Saavik, Admiral Saavik, and she takes over the Enterprise.
Fantastic. Speaking of fantastic, Joanne.
So I think we should pull an Ensign Row, I guess technically before we pull an Ensign Row, and bring Ben Maxwell out of prison to face the Cardassians. Like, this is the end game of his rehabilitation. And, he knows his enemy, right? And they fucking hate him and he hates them. But he's also, trying to get out of court martial bill or whatever it is that they do to them. So this is his deal to kind of say, hey, we'll honorably discharge you, if you maintain the peace or whatever for this mission. So my other choice was I can't think of his name. I'm like Kelsey Grammer, Bateson. So, because he's still alive, right? From the other year, from the thing. He was that elite team thing in the cartoon version. So, because I thought it was odd always watching this, that they drafted Picard and Crusher and Worf. It's almost like Starfleet would need like a covert elite team of individuals to do that sort of mission. I don't know, some sort of section. But who am I? So, but yeah, my choice would be Ben Maxwell. They pull it in a row and get Ben Maxwell out.
Some kind of section that's used to dressing in all black and sort of, yeah. No, I get it. I follow you. Benji, welcome back. Do you have an answer for the intention setter, my dear?
Welcome back, me. Am I here?
You sound like you're caught in the transporter buffer.
I do, as long as you can hear me.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
No?
Yeah. Oh,
no.
no.
Benji's gone.
Well, we'll keep trying. But in the
Yes.
meantime, I'm going to go with my answer, which is stolen, but it's okay. I think Admiral Nechayev herself. This is a great introduction to this character that I love. I love that she is a no nonsense, just get it done type. And so, like I said this in a text thread with some others the other day when I first rewatched this episode earlier this week. Is like, why didn't they just make it her? You know, it's like I'm taking over for this mission because you got to go do this other thing. Because it was, I mean, I get that they wanted to make it make it look real or whatever, but whatever. Admiral Nechayev, she's the one. All right. Well, hopefully Benji will be able to join us or get in the chat and let us know his answer. But in a lovely intention setter, as always, the intentions be set. And now we are going to deep dive into this episode with our level 2 diagnostic.
Calibration is locked and normal. Diagnostic underway.
That's right. It's a 2-part episode that we're discussing in May. So it's a level 2 diagnostic. Kicking off our top thoughts. I love these episodes. They are so good. They set up so much. They tell us a little bit more about Starfleet as a whole. You know, it's not all the cushy Enterprise D. You know, we've got Captain Jellicoe and Admiral Nechayev, both very no nonsense, different type of officers that we don't always see. I love that Admiral Nechayev, while a badass, she's in no way a badmiral. I love that they didn't go that route with her. The tension between Will and Jellicoe is really good. We're certainly going to get into it. I think he was not wrong, but he was a dick about it. And Riker needed to pull up his big boy pants and get with the program and explain, Captain, you need some patience. We can't just do this in 3 hours. It's not a matter of you saying get it done. It's a matter of things take a certain amount of time. Like I would have loved for them to be, like Krista said earlier, even more crazy bitchy with each other. And we see Patrick Stewart's ass a little bit, and just an incredible performance from Patrick Stewart. An incredible performance in Gol Madred, and I can't wait to get into it. So those are my initial thoughts. Joanne, what do you think of these episodes?
So they're okay. I like the second half better than I like the first half because, as you know, I am deeply enamored of William Riker, and I was offended with him when he was not put in the seat while Picard was away. So I was kind of irritated like that. But I also really wish Will would have gotten out of his feelings, right? And just kind of been so undeniably awesome that, you know, Jellicoe would have had to eat crow earlier than he did. But relatable content, you know, people piss you off and don't recognize your greatness. It has a way of making you a bitch. So, and sometimes being a bitch is all a woman has to hold on to. But you know, it's exciting. The second half, Picard and whatever his name is, just great kind of one-on-one actors workshop kind of moments. And I thought everything Picard said was like incredible, and all of the choices he made were just really kind of convincing once you kind of, you know, accept that this is the dynamic. So I thought it was a really, you know, it was meaningful. And like I said, I like the second episode better than the first, but overall they were good. William.
Thank you. Yeah, this is like the first time I felt like there's like a few times where the 2-parter episodes in TNG feel like they could be 1-parters, like Gambit. Like there's a few where it's like, this doesn't need to be 2 episodes. Like this could have been 1. You're really stretching. This one feels like it should be 2. Like the first episode really sets up the dynamic that's going on. There's a lot of great character stuff. And then the second half, I think, just nails it. Like the torture of Picard, the animosity between Jellicoe and everybody, like the idea that like the Enterprise crew are lazy, spoiled babies, and everyone else operates a ship like it should be operated, and they're on the fucking Love Boat. Like it's such a fascinating, like, kind of reflect, like, an interesting perspective on the Enterprise crew being the flagship and being basically a carnival cruise in space. Like there's like fucking families on this ship. It's insane. They go and fight the Borg and there's fucking families on the ship. It's just crazy. But like I think this is like one of the best episodes where I feel like if I was to try and edit it down to one episode, I think it would be very difficult because I think it's just so well written and it's so well acted. I think Patrick Stewart and David Warner, who worked a lot together, I think in the Royal Shakespeare Company, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they play off each other magnificently. I think casting him, David Warner, as Gul Madred, I think is like, you need an actor of like equal gravitas to Patrick Stewart, so you're gonna have to dig a little bit. And I mean, David Warner is a known entity in Star Trek. He was in Star Trek V and Star Trek VI. So he's there a few times. I think it's a marvelous turn. Jellicoe's a bitch. But I think he's not wrong. It's just like, you have to be good to work with. Like, you can't just be a bitch to your coworkers. Like, he's a shit manager. He's right, but he's a terrible manager. And also he walks like a high school secretary. Anyway, I'll demonstrate later. I did in the before. He has a specific way of walking that is like the secretary at everyone's high school. But
it will be full screen towards the end of the salon. Don't worry, everybody.
We'll do it. There is a point you will not be able to unsee it. He walks a specific way. Sorry to that man. But anyway, Krista, darling.
You're still on mute.
Fuck me. Okay. So like Joanne, I liked the second part more than the first part because the first part was kind of set up, with the exception of the single scene where you have Gul Madred saying, if I do not care, if I do not like your answers, you will die. That statement resonated with me like on a daily basis. If I could just get away with saying that to just the general public or anyone I ask a question to, it's like, if I could just have a pass for one day to say that as many times as I want, I would really be into it. I liked the second episode more because I liked the way they sort of dived into the examination of how another culture uses a lot of the same ideology that we use to support our own war games and our own justifications. And I thought it was really kind of brilliant to have that very small scene with the daughter and a ferret included to sort of really hammer home these people actually have families as well. And they're not saying anything that's very different from what we have said as members of Starfleet to justify whatever actions we've taken. So I liked that examination. I'm unclear if her pet was also the live egg that they ate. Was that the same pet? Okay. I liked they had to bring in a kind of the Charles Dickens story of Gul Madred's childhood, where he was a pauper child and running around scavenging food, which I thought I found it funny, which probably makes me cold-hearted. I'm sure I was supposed to sympathize with him, but fuck that guy. So no, I didn't sympathize, but I thought it was funny that they sort of included it. I think that Patrick Stewart was not quite as buffed up as I've seen him in his nakedness. He was not quite as cut as he has been in the past, maybe sometime around dune buggy time. And what I particularly appreciated was when they raised his hands up, his body reacted to gravity, and there was a tan line where his skin sagged. And I thought, that's beautiful. Thank you for the authenticity there, because the shit happens to me as well. So I appreciated that they left it in. Also, why was Beverly there at all? And that's it. I'm going with, why the fuck was Beverly there at all? Okay, that's it.
Benji, we can't hear you if you're talking. It doesn't look like you're muted, but perhaps your sound isn't connected. It's those tariffs, man. You gotta give us 45% more volume.
Can I ask why Joel is giving, what are you giving me a pass for? I appreciate it, but I'm unclear what the pass is for.
Let's take that to the chat and figure it out. Trevor, what were your thoughts on this episode?
Okay, so far I'm not upholding my own standard of and my own trope of hating two-parters, because I think this is actually my favorite multi-part episode in Star Trek. These two episodes together, first and foremost because they aren't a premiere or a finale and premiere combo. It's just like this random two-parter that premiered in the fall of whatever year that it was on, and they were just thing for the networks. It's just a random two-parter. The work between it's been already highlighted, the work that not only Sir Patrick had to put forth to make torture appear convincing, but for Warner to the work that he did to be as insidious and horrible as he was, but also three-dimensional, because he wasn't just a mustache twirling villain. The scene with his daughter certainly helped make him more three-dimensional, but he just incredible work between the two gentlemen, and it's difficult to find other scenes in Trek where there's two actors kind of face to face doing what those two are able to pull off. Also, what Will was mentioning earlier about, could you condense this into a one-part story? They could, but it would be really annoying because it would start with the team already on their way to Celtris 3, and then we're like, wait, who's this new captain? Like, they would do this weird thing that would be the cold open of like, oh, there's a new captain here, instead of the announcement that Picard was being relieved, the setup for how horrible this mission was going to be. I love pretty much everything about it, with the singular exception of how Troy is represented in this episode. In these episodes, I love the fact that she starts wearing a standard uniform. I don't love the fact that her dick of a new boss is telling her what to wear to work. If it was professional and in dress code before, it still is. So I'm not a huge fan of men telling women what is and isn't professional. That said, glad she wore it. But the real problem that I have is in, when she goes to talk to Jellicoe and he pushes back and says, I don't have time to handhold the crew. I trust you'll take over the personnel situation. The fact that she doesn't just go full ship's counselor and lay into him in that moment really infuriates me, considering she's perfectly capable of it. We've seen the character do it before, and the actress is more than capable of doing it in a way that still seems like Deanna, but is also like, hold up, new guy. If you want to defeat the Cardassians, you're going to need a crew to accomplish it. You can't do this on your own. There's a reason this ship has a crew complement of over 1,000. So it would have been nice to see that. All that said, I love these two episodes, and those are my top thoughts.
Benji, let's give it one more try. Nope, cannot hear you, buddy.
But we knew what you just said.
Yes. For those watching, the word fuck was just uttered for sure, and I'm sure you saw it with its full force.
For those of you who don't speak Canadian, that was fuck.
Yeah. Fuck, eh? Well, keep trying. Chime in when you can. And toodaloo. Or maybe in the chat. Who knows? All right, those are our top thoughts. That's the episode. Tech issues. Goodbye. No, let's dive into it further. We've touched on it, but I want to deep dive and run our level 2 diagnostic on the Riker and Jellicoe of it all, their dynamic. I know we've just barely scratched the surface here. This is in both episodes, we get great moments of tension between them. And like Trevor just mentioned, others around get caught up in it. You know, Geordi is caught in it. Troy is, Dr. Crusher is. And it's an interesting watch seeing how this dynamic plays out, but particularly with Riker and Jellicoe. Like they're similar to Shelby a while back. We had people who are right and wrong. It's their style that's rubbing each other the wrong way. And so let's get into it further. Who has thoughts on Secretary Jellicoe? I know Will does. And then Trevor.
Yeah. This guy is just the fucking worst. Like good on the Ronnie Cox for acting. Like he's this humorless cunt of a man, and like clearly knows what he's doing. But instead of informing the crew, it's like you are a means to an end. He's very like goal oriented in a way where it doesn't fucking matter about everyone else. You must operate this certain way, and then this is the goal. I've worked with people who are like this. The problem is that the the outcome of this doesn't. It's like there's not enough of him working with other people. Like he's written so brilliantly to be such a fucking bitch. It's just like I would have quit. I've been like, girl, we're all gonna resign. Like you can eat shit. Pilot the ship yourself. And just the way he walks on the bridge makes me laugh because he moves like a secretary. But it's absolutely ridiculous. I hate him. And it's like a good example of like the kind of innate underlying sexism of like TV shows of this era, but sometimes Star Trek, where it's like a man can act like a complete asshole to his crew, and he's like, oh, he's just tough. He's like this, you know, he's just a tough captain. He's like, you know, blah blah blah, this hardened person. But if this was a woman, whole other story. So like it's kind of this weird inert sexism of that character specifically, but he just mistreats everyone. But he also has a point. It's weird because they're all soft, and he makes a point of it because it's like you've got this real cushy schedule. You're doing all this stuff. Your ship's like really nice, and he's on some beat up fucking Excelsior class that gets blown up, by the way, in DS9. But yeah, whatever. Trev, hate this guy.
I think my biggest issue with the Riker Jellicoe dynamic is how bad it makes Riker look. I would have preferred, like, I'm fine with Jellicoe being a dick. Well, I mean, I'm not fine with it, but like, I'm fine with them bringing in a new character and giving him this difficult to get along with personality. The issue that I have is that like Riker appears, once again, Riker is in a situation wherein he's dealing with a difficult personality and he makes it about himself. It's, why didn't I get command? And I agree, though he asked and Nechayev answered. You know what? You don't need to put someone in temporary command. Her response, I need somebody who's experienced with the Cardassians, and that isn't you. So it's not about you, Will Riker. It's about the mission. I don't think Riker before this episode or Riker after this episode struggles with that concept. So making him struggle with it in this episode is weird. Like why it was one thing when someone was after his job, and I think he learned from that. But then here we are 2.5 seasons later, and he can't deal with a difficult new boss. And it just, I get it. They wanted, you know, if it were modern Trek, the Chain of Command would have been an entire season, and we would have seen development and growth. But we don't get that in 2 42-minute installments. So 84 minutes. Look at me, I'm doing math live.
It would have ended up lovers in a new Trek season.
which I'm not saying I would have been opposed to. Well, okay, I don't necessarily want to see Jellicoe in that situation, but Riker, let's go for it.
Problematic day alert.
I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed. Yeah, I don't know. It just that it would have been nice if there had been some resolution there too of like, hey, I respect you after all. Like, thanks for doing that thing you did.
Yeah.
Because even I struggle with this episode being so contained, I guess, because there aren't a lot of lessons learned after. The behaviors beforehand don't lead up to it. Everybody's reaction to a different necessarily what they would normally be. And frankly, I really struggle with getting all the way through all of the torture and it being as accurate as a Shakespearean actor can give us torture. And then he just walks on the bridge and says, "Counselor, could I see you in the ready room?" And off they go. Like he doesn't have some sort of physical like something, like maybe an odd way of being able to maneuver or walk, or like his arm in a sling, or like something that tells, but something that suggests that there's lasting physical damage as well as what's beneath. Anyway,
You cut
I
out a little
drifted
bit at
into
the end there,
Picard when
but
it was supposed to. Sorry, and I was supposed to be talking about just Riker and Jellicoe, and I'm not, so I'll stop.
no. You're the co-host. You talk about whatever the hell you want. I agree with you. Yeah, it was interesting because in Best of Both Worlds, there was, a head patch. It would have added another layer if there was some kind of lasting whatever. Torture him more, damn it. Yeah, I think my deal with Jellicoe is I agree with y'all. He is such a bitch. It's the way he goes about it. Like a 4-shift rotation, I do believe sounds better than a 3-shift rotation. It means your hours are shorter and you have more time off. Like, hello, progressive Captain Jellicoe. All right, cool. 4-day work week. Let's do it. But just get it done attitude. I have known so many men in my life who think that is the way to command. That's the way to be in charge, be it a shift supervisor in retail or at a restaurant or whatever. Like this nonsense of like, just get it done. Like, well, you saying that doesn't make it so. Unfortunately, there are logistics involved and people, and just calm your tits. All right, just calm it down. And this entire time, I've thought Krista was just listening intently or falling asleep, and now I believe she has frozen. It's just it's a salon of tech issues tonight. Let's go to Joanne. Joanne, what were your thoughts on Riker and Jellicoe? I know your boy Riker is you're going to come and save him, right?
Well, no, because I do think he wasn't he wasn't great, right? He wasn't excellent. He was in his feelings and just he could have handled things differently. But I do where I don't even mind. Well, I do mind, but I don't really mind Jellicle being a bitch, about it. My biggest issue with him was his failure to communicate. Like, you can, like, why didn't you could tell them, hey, when the Cardassians arrive, I'm going to make them wait an hour. Like, you didn't have to have this big round table on the bridge and make Troy come in to, be like, did we miscommunicate or whatever? And, well, here's my plan. And now it made it seem like if you knew what you were going to do, then you could have communicated it. And if you didn't, like, you're just making this shit up. Like, you are not qualified, right? So Riker should have been like, if you're just making this shit up, then yeah, mutiny, motherfucker, right? Stand down. But so I'm like, the failure to communicate is an inherently hostile act, deep cut. But so I'm like, I don't understand that at all. Even if you're going to be stank about it, right? Be stank, but just say what you got to say and stand in that shit. I hate a coward. I hate, I hate a person who does not communicate. I hate it. I hate it. It's weak. It's sad. So I mean, that's my issue with Jellicoe. Even though, like I said, you're just fucking mean too, and just saying for no reason. But at least tell me what's going on in that batshit mind of yours,
Yeah.
right?
Like he did in the second instance with the Cardassians. Like you could have done that from the jump. And
Exactly.
I did appreciate that moment with Deanna clocking, like when Riker's like, hey, he's sure of himself. And she's like, no, he's not. Welcome back, Krista.
Can you see me?
I can.
Can you see me move?
Yes.
Okay, so this is where I was going back to what Trev said. This is where we get to make it ho. Because what I would have done is instead of Picard going into the ready room with Troy, he would have had like angry reclamation sex with Beverly, who was trying to apologize for leaving him behind. And he's trying to exercise this newfound affinity for being submissive.
You thirsty bitch.
In the arms of the angel.
Just putting it out there. And also, Riker fully clothed could get it in this episode faster than naked Picard every day and twice on Sunday. 3 times even, really. 4 with Cialis.
Well, speaking of getting it up, Picard is hoisted up with Gul Madred. How's that for a segue into talking about torture? Let's talk about these 2 Shakespearean actors torturing each other. These 2 act circles around themselves. They are acting their whole assholes out. I love these scenes with Gul Madred and Captain Picard. The to be continued. And it's not a cliffhanger. We're gonna get to it next week. And then, oh shit, it's actual torture. He's letting his daughter in there. We get Cardassian lore. And then he slips up and tells Picard something personal about himself, and Picard gets to use that. I will see you as a 6-year-old boy. Oh, just chef's kiss. Who has thoughts about torture? I mean, these scenes with these 2. Who supports torture? Anybody? No. Who has thoughts about Gul Madred and Captain Picard's dalliance? Will.
The fun fact I know about this show is that the original actor who was supposed to play Gul Madred dropped out last minute. Like he wasn't able to do it and had to drop. So then they asked David Warner to do it, and he came in and he didn't have enough time to learn his lines. So that man is reading a cue card, which is crazy to me. The man did not know his lines because he literally did not have time, and he was reading cue cards, which is crazy. And he did it only because he was like, oh, I want to work with Patrick again. So like that's wild. Like incredible actor. Like and I think he's so good as Chancellor Gorkon too in Undiscovered Country. Like his performance is so underrated. Like I think is this peacemaker Christ figure that comes in and then is murdered. I think anyway. But anyway, these two like it's a masterclass of acting. I do think sometimes Stewart hams it up a little bit. Like he gets a little hammy at certain points, but I think for the time and for like the level of acting that at this point was allowable in Star Trek and just like on TV in general, I think the fact he was never nominated for an Emmy for this or any type of award is such a shame, because I think it's this is his best Stewart's best performance in like probably his entire run of Star Trek. I would say like it's probably his best run, and the torture he undergoes and like the dedication for him to do that, and how now it's like unfortunately still very relevant, but like how he's dehumanized and how like to his face with Gulman Dredd brings in his daughter and goes, "Oh, they don't have families like us." When he clearly, Picard doesn't, but like he has a family. Like clearly, there's more in common than different. But he's dehumanizing him, and this narrative that these people are animals is like and don't deserve rights, and we shouldn't treat them the same as we treat Cardassians is just like like watching it now, like I think that this episode still holds up. I think the lighting should be a little bit better, but that's just TV at the time because it always looks like a high school stage play. But I think it's the two of them, like they're really, really great, well-written, meaty scenes, and two actors who are clearly masters of their craft. So it's really, really cool to see. And the man reading a fucking cue card, which is crazy. It's crazy.
Trevor?
In the interest of what I said before about there being no consequences before or after these episodes, I wish that a lot of David Warner's lines and the way that he delivered them had carried through in other Cardassians. I get that we're seeing them. We saw them justify the occupation of Bajor. Like we've seen that plenty in DS9. But the idea that this entire Union, empire, whatever you want to call it, is built on that ideology that those that they conquer or kill don't have families, that don't love their children the way that Cardassians do. That the Cardassian Union, Cardassia itself was sort of destitute until the military took over, and then they started conquering territories and they could feed the population. A lot of that is lost in the Cardassians are fascist or bad. I agree 100%, but like give us more depth because we get Cardassians for another 15 years. Like, so keep building on that because they did a lot of really good work they did a lot of good in laying that groundwork and then just sort of ignored it and went back to two-dimensional villains.
Yeah, that's something that I've thought a lot about, even in my own like fun writing, because what got the Cardassians to a point where they're taking over other planets, like what leads to that? And I think about this a lot where people talk about with canon, like, oh, I thought this happened or that happened. What Gulman Dredd is saying in this episode to me rings as military propaganda. He grew up poor. Now he's in this position of power. So of course he's biased towards the military, and we're not getting the whole picture, right? We never will. You never do. In the real world as well, folks in his position, they have their perception, what they have observed, what they've experienced. And I think you're right, Trevor. It would have been interesting. Like, we get some of it in Deep Space Nine. Like they explore really well in some ways, but in others, like Cardassian history, like it's a lot of propaganda. It's a lot of like Garrick or Ducat talking about like the good old days, but we don't see as much like from the scientists, like in the Three Vipers episode and those kinds of things. We get a lot of that gets missed, which is unfortunate because there's a whole tapestry there that we're just never going to see.
Well, it falls into the trap of making us think that Cardassians behave that way and say those things just to justify being evil. And what if their entire culture, what if every Cardassian was raised to believe that every other life form, sentient or otherwise, didn't have families, didn't experience or emote the way that didn't experience love or emote the way that Cardassians do? What an interesting, terrifying and awful, but what an interesting way of making them evil as opposed to just Cardassians are fascist, therefore bad. Yeah. Yes, fascism's bad, but give us more. It just would have added so much more depth if they had taken just that little bit of dialogue and that performance of David Warner and just run with it. It just could have done so much more. To your point, lots is eventually done, but not as much as would be possible based on what they gave us in this episode.
Krista.
I wanted to say about the dehumanizing. They went all in on the whole dehumanizing aspects from the Cardassian perspective, and it being completely justifiable in their culture. This is how they do it. But it began on the Enterprise because, looking at the new captain, Captain Hootenanny, looking at Picard and saying, well, let's hope you beat the odds. I mean, it's like you're already irrelevant. You're already a blank space. You used to take up space here, and now you're a blank space. And in order to make sure that we understand you're a blank space of something that used to be, we're going to remove Livingston. We're going to make you take your Shakespeare, and I'm going to cover the walls with my kids' bad art, because somehow or another, I, as an actual father with art from my kid, are more valuable enough to stay on this ship, and sending you three with no children. Worf has a kid. Beverly has a kid.
Doesn't
I mean, the dehumanizing happens from Starfleet as well. It's not just Cardassians doing it. It's, fuck all if you guys are going to make this. Who knows? I mean, you're training in a cave on the holodeck or whatever. Who crawls through a tunnel, has it collapse on them, and comes out flawless with not a scratch? I don't even understand that.
Dr. Beverly Crusher, how dare you?
Dr. Beverly Crusher.
She knows how to have debris fall on her. She's a dancer.
She does indeed. So, I just think that the whole thing altogether was sort of, it was a zero-sum game, because neither side was really right. And the metagenic weapon did not exist. I mean, did we find out whether that thing actually existed or not?
It was just a ruse to capture Picard.
Exactly. So, it was a zero-sum. It was zero-sum. Both showed their ugly underbellies. Both showed their sort of impulsive whatevers, and that's why I think, get Khan in there and blow them all up. They all need to be blown up, spanked. Let's get some spanking going on. There are 5 erections.
Joanne, what were your thoughts on Captain Picard's torture?
Well, no, I loved it. No, torture is great. It was such just a smart scene. Like, my favorite moment was, when he came in with the food, with the little Pokemon egg, and Picard ate it, and then he gave them the tray of fruit or whatever, and Picard's, he's eating, and he's telling that sad story or whatever. I just love, because, like, before it, Picard was tired and kind of foggy, but then, he sees the opportunity to eat. And as soon as he finished, eating, he seized on that moment. Like, and his speech became clear, his mind, like, he was focused and went on the offensive. And I thought that that was just such a smart choice to, like, by Sir Patrick Stewart, right? To just kind of even change his outlook because he'd eaten. Do you know what I mean? And that his mind was clear. Like, I was like, this is brilliant acting. Just a brilliant choice. A brilliant choice. So I really, really loved all of that. I also, though, was, to Krista, something you said earlier. I think Picard and Beverly probably smashed before they went on the mission, because
While Worf is piloting the shuttle.
why would the knowledge of, them possibly still having her make him turn around? You see, she told Worf when he got, like, leave him, let's go,
She's
but
like, I'm done with him.
I'm done. But he's like, oh, you're not going to do this to her, so I'm choosing to stay or whatever. I'm like, oh, yeah. It
What
was,
if got dibs for the return trip, and that's why he wanted to go back.
Gross.
Beverly
But,
got it on the way there. Worf was getting it on the way back.
Make it ho.
That's what I'm saying.
Problematic day alert.
Okay, Worf had their clothes.
The Triple X parody part 2.
Picard the cook. But
How about if they're rappelling together, like sandwiched together down the? I'll help you, Beverly. I know you're afraid of heights. Here, crawl into my lap.
but it did make me mad that her hair was out. Why is your hair out?
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Like, that's such a
Everybody
problematic
else looked
choice.
like a condom.
Yeah.
And she's a condom with red
And
bangs.
she's gonna have her red bangs out. Such a problematic choice. Whoever made it, such a problematic choice that she had to have her hair out.
Just need a little bit of color showing.
Yeah, problematic choice. But yeah.
Trevor
I don't
has-
know what I'm talking about now. Yeah.
There's two thoughts, one serious, one not so much. The not so much one. How funny would it have been if they were actually captured by the Cardassians because of light reflecting off of her bangs?
What's that over there?
And then
My
and then
hair
my
is too
ser-
shiny. Damn
Or-
you, Pantene Pro V. Yeah.
Right?
Just a clump of hair
This
left.
fucking
in the
bouncing and
last
behaving
tunnel.
hair will be our downfall.
It wasn't Picard screaming "Beverly!" when the cave-in happened. It was the light off the bangs.
I did love that moment though, because Worf has to pull him back. Like, no, I'll get it. It was great.
Yeah, Worf's like, "Bitch, move over."
You're not gonna get that.
I could lift you
And then
and that
it's-
boulder.
it's, why don't you take up the rear? And then the very next scene, she takes up the rear. It's like, I don't think you understand the concept of taking it up the rear. Like, seriously.
You thirsty bitch.
In the arms of the angel.
That shouldn't have been an alert. It was.
He was like, yeah, I'll show you about taking it up the rear. Yeah.
No, wait a minute.
Okay, so that part wasn't in the dialogue. I
I'm
added
talking
the
about walking. What are you talking about? So that was my not so serious. My serious criticism. I still, despite loving this episode, these episodes, I still strongly object to the now I can't remember what it's called, but the half formed avian in an egg that he consumes so quickly.
Aspar egg.
Sounds
It's
like the Pokemon. Yeah.
it's there are cultures on Earth that do that as well, that eat partially formed avians in eggs, and I think it's icky, but I object to taking something that's Earth-based and making it, ew, gross, he must be starving, because that culture is weird and alien, when that same behavior happens here on Earth. So it's basically balut, which is a Philippine delicacy, and it's not cool that they used that to be like, oh, he's so hungry he had to eat this gross thing, when that gross thing is a food on Earth in a country with millions of people.
I didn't take it that way, but only because it was in comparison to Gul Madred's cooked egg. Like,
Right, and he said, when I was starving, I'm desperate. Essentially, I did the same thing you just did when I was a kid, and I saw one partially formed. It's a little, I don't know. It doesn't land well. It feels like it was an idea that somebody thought of who'd never heard of the actual food, and so it just felt a little. It felt a little ethnocentric for Trek. Just in retrospect, just saying. It doesn't devalue the episode, but it's like, bummer. Do better, Trek.
No, the episode's terrible now. Fuck it.
Sorry.
Ruined it.
Show's over. Thanks for
Ruined
coming,
it.
y'all.
Well, y'all, we are coming to the end of our episode, but we have a brand new segment. That's right. We're mixing things up. Get excited. In this episode, we need to make it row.
I always thought Starfleet had a lot to learn from me, Captain.
We're going to go around and each of us are going to make it row by saying who was the badass of this episode. So I'll kick us off, and I'm going to give it to Admiral Nechayev. Joanne.
For me, part of me, it was Deanna Troy. She kept Riker on track, I think. And even though Jellicoe rebuffed her in the office, I think she circled back, and that's why he did consult them on the next one. I think it was Troy.
Will.
My row of the episode is Picard's perky butt.
Krista.
For a man that sits all day, that ass looked tight. Anyway, Krista.
Well, it's a tie for me. My row is either Captain Hootenanny's child that has some artistic talent, or
none,
or Riker's beautifully coiffed beard. His hair, his beard.
Season six Wolf breaks
kind of like blue, purple, midnight colored, sort of sashy night, sexy times, cross chest, night gear, whatever. Does anybody else notice that, like, this dude still looked like the actor, but like with Ducat and Garrick and the representative that Hootenanny was dealing with, they all look.
Keep going. Keep trying to suss it out. This is great.
More. Listen, I'm gonna let
you know who's his face and what's her name. You know the one.
You know,
the
and
one
that's
that did
part
that
of the
thing.
fun. That's part of the fun, Stan. See if you can.
I love it.
This is Krista speak. Y'all have to try to figure out what the fuck I'm talking about.
No one ever can.
No, but they all have pointy faces. And this dude, the angry Madrid guy, forget it.
No clue.
Is it my turn?
Yes. Make it row.
I had a different answer. I've changed it as a result of hanging out with my dear Saloners and friends. I love you all dearly because you made me realize that the badass of these episodes was Beverly's bangs.
Yeah. Beverly's bangs. We've made it row. And now, as promised, Will, get that dog off your lap. It's time.
Oh, I have to.
It's time to do your show. Do your trick, freak.
So this is how Captain Jellicoe walks on the bridge. He's always leaning to one side, and he's always like walking like he's carrying a purse. It's like, oh, I gotta get there.
No, that's a handbag.
For folks listening on the podcast, check us out on YouTube at minute 58 and 39 seconds for this wonderful demonstration of Captain Jellicoe's walk.
Shoulders up a little bit.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah. Like he needs a massage so bad.
He made that really autistic child's art in his office, so.
It's giving Nathan Lane and Birdcage trying to be
very
John
that,
Wayne.
very
Yeah.
the Jellicoe maneuver, exactly. It's very that. It's very middle school secretary.
Well, thank you, Will. It's much appreciated. Now, as we come to the close of our episode, before I turn it over to Trevor for the highlights and the scoreboard and anything else he wants to say, I do want to say a couple of podcasty things. Of course, please like and subscribe. We're here on YouTube. We're on Twitter, Bluesky, Patreon, if you want to throw a couple of dollars our way. We are at Salon Trek in all of the places, all the platforms. We also have a website where you can find some fun stuff, including our store, which also supports us a little bit of proceeds of whatever you purchase there, fun notebooks, t-shirts, etc. Again, at Salon Trek everywhere. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and leave a review on the podcast platform of your choice. Trevor, take us home. Land.
I'm still recovering from the comment from Benji that Jellicoe's son is actually 23 years old, which makes that elephant picture even more adorable. There were 2 problematic gay alerts. There were 3 problematic ally alerts. Do better, homos. And there were at least 3 Bev alerts, probably more, but I kind of lost track because, I just did. I gave 1 million bonus points and a bottle of Dimetap to Krista for Tuvoxing, Khan, and Galron. It must be the drugs. I gave 21,505 bonus points to Joanne for Callbacks of the Wounded with Killer Maxwell. I gave 4, or was it 5, bonus points to Will for Seeing the Light in the co-hosts. And 500 bonus points to Benji for illuminating sex toys in the comments. I also took away 50 bonus points from Stan. Bitch, you know why.
She knows what she did. Y'all, that brings us to the end of our salon. But one quick announcement for folks who just can't get enough of me. I hope you will join me on Text Trek tomorrow evening. We will be discussing one of my favorite Deep Space Nine episodes, The Assignment. I love that episode. We're going to talk about Rosalind Chow. We're going to talk about Miles' suffering. We're going to talk about Bajoran lore. We're going to talk about all of the fun. Here on YouTube, Text Trek. Get excited. I'm excited. And we will be back next week, continuing our Level 2 Diagnostic series on Star Trek The Next Generation episodes Redemption, Parts 1 and 2. Klingons and Romulans and android captains. Get excited. We'll be back next week. And until then, please do live long and prosper.
All hands abandon ship. Proceed to the nearest evacuation zone immediately.